New Zealand are ranked number 2 in the world, and Kane Williamson can finally topple Kohli at the top of the world rankings. I'm Rob, one half of Leading Edge Cricket, not today joined by the co-host of the show, Rich, but joined by special guest Will Kavanagh.
Morning.
Morning, great to have you here, Will. And I'm going to start off by going, Kane Williamson. How good is Kane Williamson?
He is good enough that I don't think you would go anywhere in the world and talk to people who know about cricket. You would have any dispute that he is ranked in the top 1, 2, 3 of batsmen running around in world cricket today. And he does it in all formats, and everybody likes him, which is always a bonus.
He's a bloody good bloke. Now, the one thing that I've found about New Zealand Test cricket, it kind of goes under the radar a little bit on the world scene. So if I think when I'm in England, New Zealand doesn't get the same publicity, and Kane Williamson is putting up some ridiculous stats over the last few years. And everyone goes, oh yeah, there's this top 4, there's Kohli, there's Smith, there's Root, there's Williamson. But actually, I think it's a little bit of a discredit to Williamson that he's kind of the one that's tagged on the end of that conversation, when actually his stats over the previous, let's take since the start of 2017, he won't have as many runs as anyone else, purely down to the amount of games that he played. The New Zealand's played 15 tests, India's played 25 tests, so there's going to be a disparity in runs. But you look at him from an average, and if you take anyone that's played 15 games of Test cricket, and he's only had 23 innings, he averages 70, 6 centuries, 5 50s, almost 1,500 runs. And the guy is, at that point, since 2017, you could make a call to say he's better than anyone else.
Yep, you would certainly. I think you might have a bit of an argument if you took that to the Indian subcontinent, but there is... He is certainly handicapped by the fact that we don't play much test cricket, but as you just said, those stats are just world class in any era against any other, batsman running around in world cricket. You might argue that perhaps it would be difficult for him to achieve that sort of consistency if we were playing as much as some of the other countries, but I would argue that actually, if he was playing much more, he'd probably be able to improve, because when you watch him, he gets into a real groove by the time a test series is halfway through. And if you're an opposition bowler, you would really be wondering, how do we get this bloke out?
Yeah, he's very calm.
Yep.
He puts away the bad ball all around the wicket. Great off the back foot. His back foot drives and cuts are sublime. But he also... It's a one-day trait, but he seems to still rotate the strike quite well in Test cricket. Yeah,
which, for people who have known me for a few years, I used to criticise might be a bit harsh, but I used to wonder whether he was sustainable at Test cricket when he first started, when his strike rate was consistently in the 30s. And I used to say, look, yes, he'll get 100, but he's buggered by the time he gets there. He's taken him 5 hours, and then he got out. And I think if you look at his hundreds early on the series, they're all very small. Yeah. Now, he's matured as a player, and he ticks over at 65-ish without appearing to play a shot.
Yeah.
Unless it's, we're going to declare in 20 minutes. You look up on the scoreboard, and you think, how the hell's he got there?
Yeah.
I haven't actually seen him do anything. But you're right. He ticks over the strike. He takes the singles, and he controls everything that's happening whilst he's batting, and that, to me, is the art of a true batsman.
It truly is. And the teams that he's been playing cricket against, it's not like you can turn around and go, all his games have been against Zimbabwe or Bangladesh. However, he's just scored a double 100 against Bangladesh, which is definitely going to help. But the fact is, they've had Pakistan, a good Pakistan team over here. They've just won in Pakistan.
Yep.
And how many people can turn around and say, hey, we've been to UAE and we won in UAE?
I'm pretty sure no one can actually say that for the last 6 or 7 years at least, since they've lost a series there.
Exactly. There was South Africa, there's been Pakistan again, there's been India, there's been England. It's pretty much a who's who.
Yep.
It's since the start of 2017 that he's been playing against, and it doesn't matter who it is, who's bowling. I've never looked at his game and gone, like Kevin Peterson. You look at Peterson's game and he got found out with left arm spin.
Yeah.
Struggled with the angle of the ball coming in. There's Martin Guptill. Just plants his foot. Right, poor example.
Anything with a red ball.
Yeah, the ball's the wrong colour, I don't know what to do. But Kane Williamson, I never look at him and go, there's a weakness there. Okay, bowl at the fourth stump, or bowl straight at the stumps. Take the ball into him, take the ball away. I've never seen something that's made me go, okay, that's how he gets out.
No, the Australians when they were here 3 years ago, they took away that run down to through Gully region, but it didn't expose them as a way to get them out. It just that was a methodology of stopping him getting to the other end.
Yeah.
But you're right. You don't look at his game and think, okay, if I was bowling, I'm going to do this, and he'll make a mistake in 20 minutes eventually. No, he is as world-class a batsman as I've seen in 40 years of watching cricket.
No, it's good to know. The only criticism, and it's not really a Williamson problem, it's more of how the New Zealand governance of the game and how they get more Test cricket overseas, is that when I look through the stats, a lot of these games are at home.
Yeah.
The only time he's played away since the start of 2017 is when they went to Pakistan and he got that incredible 139 that enabled them to win the series, or an enabler, the superb bowling in there as well. Is it possible that New Zealand can play more overseas Test matches, or is it just because it's a World Cup kind of year coming up? Is that why we're seeing less, or is it just a theme?
I think it's a theme, and hopefully that new ICC Test Cricket League will sort that out, because there's going to be mandated matches that you have to play home and away. The real fact of the matter is that for TV broadcasters in other countries, New Zealand isn't a big draw card, and therefore, okay, we'll play New Zealand for 2 tests. Oh, but look, India are on the horizon. We'll play them for 7 million if we possibly could, because that's where the revenue is. And I guess you can't blame a local governance for wanting to, fill their boots when they can, but you can certainly look at the ICC and expect some, more forceful guidance from them, and perhaps that's what we're going to get with this new Test League that's on board.
I'm quite excited by that, actually. The thought of all Test nations playing, 20, 30 Test matches over the course of 2 years, evens it out. You'll play some teams home, some teams away, and the actual growth of those games, so you get those lower league Test nations like your Ireland, Afghanistan, they're actually going to get Test cricket all around the world against these big teams. Which
will hopefully make them better players, because they will struggle early on, because their players don't have that long pedigree of playing long form cricket. But once they do, there'll be some talent. You only have to look at what they've done in one day as to see that there's something there for most of those guys. And it'll be great. I mean, who doesn't want to go and watch Test cricket?
Exactly. It's the to us, it's still the best.
Oh yeah,
the best format out there. So one of the things we really want to cover off, other than going, Kane Williamson, hell of a player, and a big performance in this second Test and third Test against Bangladesh, could see him catapult over Virat Kohli. Kohli's got no more Test cricket until after the World Cup. Is looking back at the first Test and looking forward to the second Test going on between New Zealand and Bangladesh. So, first Test, I'm just going to put it out there, 715 for 6, record for New Zealand, most runs they've ever scored in a Test innings.
Yeah.
And it was carnage.
Yeah.
How good is that to watch? As a New Zealand supporter, to go, you've seen trials and tribulations over the years, seen good performances, bad performances, inconsistencies. To have what I feel is, I know you're playing against Bangladesh, but probably 3, bordering on 4, getting to be really, really good / great Test cricketers in that top 6.
Yeah, absolutely. As a spectacle, it wasn't my favourite watch of the year, cricket-wise. There was when the Bangladeshis didn't get a couple of early wickets, there was kind of a little bit of inevitability about it. Yeah. But that's to be expected. You look at their seam attack, and they had 4 tests between the 3 of them. And they have grown up playing cricket where their job is to take the shine off the ball for 4 overs. So, but you can only bat against what's in front of you. Great to see Jeet Ravel finally get past 80, because that's been his nemesis.
Yeah.
Hopefully that will give him a lot of confidence in his own skin, which, if you've played any sort of cricket, you kind of need to feel that you're good enough. Yeah. Latham, I heard on the commentary that, he scored 600 and something runs in a home series. It's just ridiculous. He can't get out at the moment. Williamson, I mean, the one player who'll be looking at that scorecard from the first test and wondering what the hell went wrong is Ross Taylor. You know, you look at even Neil Wagner came out and did the absolute perfect job for a night watchman. Yeah. Block out the night before and then swing for the stars the next day. Yeah. But yeah, as a watch for the whole day, I might have actually liked it if we were maybe 460 for 7 and, you know, there was a little bit more edge to it. But for the player's point of view, look, you know, you'll take those days every day of the week.
It was control. So 715 for 6 New Zealand got. Bangladesh batted first. And now I watched the highlights of this. And actually it was one of my... I'm going to go the other way. 2-3-4 all out. It was a crazy sort of day. And I want to say crazy because Wagner was superb bowling what Wagner does. And there's much respect for him taking that role. He got 5 for 47. Tim Southey, 3 for 76. But with all the carnage and the wickets tumbling at the other end, Tamim Iqbal went about playing one of probably my favourite to watch ever test innings. Literally, he was on fire. It didn't matter where the ball was pitched. The ball was driven beautifully out the middle of the bat. 21 boundaries, 1-6 in 126 off 128 balls in a team that got bowled out for 234. He was so good.
But that's probably what will be the most disappointing thing for the Bangladeshis. I mean, the first session I was, weren't they 104 for 1 or something at lunch?
Yeah,
and that's the difference between a Bangladesh side who are still on the up. Growth-wise, and a really top-notch test side. Top-notch test side who gets 100 in the first session for 1 won't be out for 250 before tea. You could argue that perhaps Iqbal could have reined it back a bit. That's probably going to take away from as you said, the brilliance of the innings. But he needed someone else to stay with him, which is actually, I mean, it wasn't him, but that's what happened in the second innings. And you look at the difference between the scores. You can't play Test cricket and have one guy being brilliant and the rest of them being club level. Someone else has to, put on at least a 50 to 60. Ideally, you want another 100. And as I said, the second innings really showed that. When the ball got soft and the pitch was flat, 2 guys dug in and actually played, I would argue, better innings than Iqbal's because of the circumstances of the game and because of who they are. They're not the guy that's been the leading light for the last however many years Iqbal's been top dog.
Yeah, so they were in a bit of a no-win situation because they were batting on day 3 again, and they're already 500-odd runs behind.
And no way to win.
And they lost early wickets. Well, that's unfair. 22 overs until the first wicket went down. Wagner got Islam. Iqbal batted well for 74, but again, looking at the strike rates, an 86 strike rate in a Test cricket game, it's almost like they've gone, we know we're not good enough, we know we're not going to win this game, and I don't know if it's going out playing for yourself is the right way to put it, but there's an inevitability about what's going to happen, and I'm just going to go out and play my natural game.
And his dismissal was, frankly, Sunday League under-17s.
Yeah.
Probably won't happen again, but if you are the leading light for your side, you owe it to the guys that are not as experienced and not as good not to let that happen, because that sort of stuff will take the air out of the balloon real quick. If you're in the sheds and you're a young bloke with a couple of tests and you see that, you're going, oh well, as you said, we can't win now, so I may as well go and do it. But then their middle order, showed some real ticker.
Yeah, they did. They showed a lot of grit. But again, we're going to roll into a little bit of criticism, but it's an incredible partnership. Reminiscent of that Sri Lanka partnership, I think it was last year, where they batted a whole day to save the game, longer than a day. Sankar with 149 off 171. Strike rate, 87. Muhammadullah, 146 off 229. 8 sixes between the two. So I didn't see this live with work and whatever, but watching the highlights, it almost got to a stage of the innings where both of them are just going gung-ho, trying to clear the boundary quite a lot.
Yeah, I think...
And I don't know where that transition point was of their innings from going, okay, we're both in, let's cash in, or still that inevitability about, we're still going to actually lose this game of cricket. Let's see what we can do.
Yeah, I think I think you might be slightly unfair based on only watching the highlights on that.
Yeah.
I mean, Wagner's bowling round the wicket to a left-hander and he's bowling short. They probably have come to a decision that actually we're not real good at defending off the back foot, and if you look at the first innings, they were getting caught at short leg.
Yeah.
So what do? Okay, we hook him.
Yeah.
And they actually hooked him quite well,
Yeah,
and
they
they
did.
kept planting. I know it's not the longest of boundary up there, but they were clearing it quite comfortably, and they forced New Zealand into doing something that they didn't want to do, which kind of leads perhaps Kane Williamson's weakness as a player. Doesn't seem to be hugely proactive with his bowlers about doing something different. And I think if you took away the completed strike rate for those two batsmen that scored, they accelerated a lot after probably 100 balls. Wagner kept bowling short. The pitch was even flatter, the ball was even older, and so they just started planting him up on the bank. And to be fair, they didn't only do it to Wagner. They took the handle to all the New Zealand bowlers who were not going a lot. Were not bowling with a normal sort of Test match rhythm. It was quite block bash.
What do we make of Williamson's tactics then? Because it's not the first time this has happened. We just touched on the Sri Lanka series the other year where two guys get in. What's plan B? Because he's got Bolt and Southey who both swing the ball really well. Bolt in particular is world class with the new ball. And pretty damn good with the old ball now. He's getting better at finding the length and just getting it to nibble around a little bit. Southey, I feel when the ball doesn't swing, struggles a little bit. And then you've got Neil Wagner, who's got a specific role in the team to bowl halfway down. What's plan B? What happens when it's going wrong? Because we've seen previously that there's been these big scores.
And it's not quite clear to the armchair fan what plan B is. It seems to be we'll just press harder with plan A, and then we'll have another go with plan A. And the way our pitches have been going, sort of that halfway through the third day, there's not a lot there for the bowlers. And if it's not swinging, we don't seem to have the same edge as we've got with a newer ball or in more helpful conditions. And I think a lot of that comes down to our third and fourth bowling. That it doesn't appear that Williamson trusts whoever's picked as a spin bowler. And that might be that we've got the selections wrong. Was picking Astle the right choice? Could they have gone from an Ajaz Patel, who did well in Pakistan, obviously, as a slightly more attacking spin bowler, targets the stumps a bit more, and actually has a proven record of turning it in New Zealand, whereas Astle, I can't recall him ever being picked as a frontline spinner. Oh, look, he can bat, that's quite handy. He's always been an all-rounder who bowls leggies. And playing against these top-level sides, if you're a leggy who doesn't really have a wrong un, and only really has, he's got a slider, well, is it a slider or is it one that doesn't turn? Is he going to trouble top batsmen for long enough that you can get wickets? And it doesn't look like Kane Williamson thinks he can. Because he just doesn't bowl them. He didn't bowl them at all in the first innings. That's understandable. It only went for 50 overs, but he bowled 7-8 overs maybe in the second innings that went for a long time. And if you don't trust your spin bowler or that selection, why pick one? Why not pick an extra out-and-out seamer?
You've got Matt Henry in the squad.
Matt Henry or Lockie Ferguson as a point of difference, or there's a lot of different ways you could go. You probably don't need another left armour, so you right arm, so go for someone, or it also means that you could play a different player altogether. You could play another batsman, and that De Cron, you could go to a Neesham if he could bowl. It maybe brings up Corey Anderson, perhaps his name if he's now becoming fit again, because he can come in and charge and bowl bounces for 5 or 6 overs, not as long as Wagner, but he can offer that. Yeah. So you could have that tactic going from both ends. What would be great is if they could settle upon a spin bowling option, someone who can both tie down an end if that's what you need, or can actually bowl a really aggressive, hard turning sort of line outside off if you're going away from the bat, or
I'm going to get you out sort of spinner. And it felt like they had the control with Mitchell Santner till the injury, and now I did look into why, but he wasn't fit for this game. They wanted to slowly manage his rehab, give him some one-day cricket, and I feel like he's probably the best fit for this New Zealand team in terms of control in those middle overs, plus gives you the batting down. But the Todd over Patel one, was a head scratcher to me. Patel, leading wicket taker in Plunkett Shield cricket for the last 3 or 4 seasons, head and shoulders above anything else. Superb in Pakistan. Why would you not pick a guy that's just shown that he can go and do it in Test cricket?
I don't know. I can only presume that that you analyse the opposition batting lineup and you go left-handers, right-handers, and that's traditionally leg spinners potentially show a bit more a better option if you can, but I don't know that you'd really call Todd Astle your great leg spinners. I mean, Sodhi's got more variations.
Sodhi's doing well this year in Plunkett Shield, taking wickets.
He always does. He always does, but I think that just highlights the slight step up that's required to bowl at Test cricket. You're right in Santner, but again, Santner's a defensive bowling option. I don't see him ripping through a side and getting a 7 for 50 odd, which is potentially, it would be great if we had that spinning option. We don't. But if you're going to pick one, you might as well pick one that the skipper's actually prepared to bowl, because if he's not, you might as well go
selection.
Exactly.
It's going to be an interesting one. Now, for the second Test match that's coming up, there is no change to this New Zealand squad.
Nope.
And I was looking through it, and the interesting one to me was around the spinner. It was like, okay, who are they going to go with? The only option that they've got there is a Matt Henry in the squad as well. Now, Wellington's a ground, you'll know a lot more about this than me, but historically where there can be a lot of runs scored when the ball stops swinging.
Yep.
Will Young's in the squad as well.
No, I don't think he's going to play either. So you can't mess with that top 6 now, can you?
Top 6 is great, and we didn't even touch on Nicholls as well, because Nicholls has had, in terms of cricket in the last 18 months, one of the top 20 players in the world easily.
He's number 5 if you look at the rankings.
Five
which I don't know if I'm quite in agreement with, but you're right. He's been sneaky good.
He's been sneaky good. Latham's been sneaky good. The big one from this top 6 is Jeetan Raval, seeing his progression in scoring 100 and going, okay, is that the moment? Is that when he becomes a Test cricketer?
Yep.
Then the bowling lineup is very settled. It's just whether they make a change for a spinner, and I don't know about Wellington. I've not been down to see Test cricket there enough. But is it a spinning ground? Is there a need for a spinner? Could they go with Matt Henry?
It's not traditionally a pitch that offers a lot. The only thing that's different about this year is that we're playing Test cricket quite late, and it's been a belter of a summer. I don't know about you, but we've barely had a millimetre of rain since Christmas Day at my place. So that might change the dynamics of the ground. It's a big ground for New Zealand, which is great because it means that you have got that you've got that slight bit of protection for a spin bowler if you want to go that way. That it's not going to be a flick of the wrists and it's halfway up the bank. But I don't recall spin bowlers having huge amounts of success, and that even goes back to, I don't even think Shane Warne got boatloads there. I would imagine that they're going to go in with the same 11.
Why would you change it? The only one for me is if Astle was in the squad. Astle's in the squad. If he's in the squad, they're gonna play him, right?
Yeah. Or they might want to say that Trent Boult has played a lot of cricket this summer compared to Southey. So if you're looking for making sure that people are absolutely 100% fit and firing come the World Cup, that could be an option. But Gary Stead's a Cantabrian, a conservative bunch they are down there. Kane Williamson, again, relatively conservative, so you'd say a winning 11, you don't change it.
Don't change it. No need to change it. And what outcome are you expecting here, Will? So I look at this and we're going down to Wellington and New Zealand's on a roll. Bangladesh, 3 of their top 6 have scored hundreds. Before we go, they got smashed. Yes, they did get smashed, but 3 of the top 6 just scored hundreds.
Yep, and they got hundreds last time they were out here as well. And the last time they played here, they got 500 in the first dig, and I'm pretty sure that was in Wellington.
It was.
And they conspired to lose that game.
Yeah.
Now, wisdom would suggest that if they do that sort of... If they put those sort of performances up time and time again, they will start to learn. From the New Zealand point of view, sadly, if we don't win, it will be considered a failure.
Hugely. You're hiding to nothing almost, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I can't see that they could beat New Zealand, and that's purely down to the fact that their bowling just is not experienced enough in any conditions to roll our side, given the fact that we've got a settled top 6 who all appear to be in nick.
Yeah.
So we can take New Zealand losing off the table. The weather forecast is supposed to be great, so we're going to get 5 days cricket.
Yeah.
I can't see them doing enough to not lose.
Yeah. Basically, they can't go back to back with the big scores. Looking at the history here, so 2013-14, they scored 500.
And lost
173 for 3, and then the following test, 595 for 8 declared, 160 all out, and that's the one that's in Wellington. So it does appear like there's bolts of real good stuff from this Bangladesh team, which is what world cricket wants to see. Everyone wants to see Tamim Iqbal go and blaze 100 and Mahamadullah go and do the same. But it's the consistency which is the key, and that's why your Kohli, your Smiths, your Williamsons, they are at the top end of that game, because it's not just to go and bang 100 every 20 test innings or 30, and it's wonderful. It's to go out every single time, and it's like, wow, this guy's good.
And the one thing that the Bangladeshis do is that Test cricket, one-day cricket, whatever T20 cricket, they play at the same pace, which seems to be 100 miles an hour. So imagine how the chances they would give themselves to either win or certainly not lose if they scored their hundreds at maybe just a more sedate pace, as opposed to the 100 off 107 balls. Take 160 balls, it's still a great innings, it's still 100, but you've given the other parts of your game a chance to, put their worth in. I mean, the problem New Zealand used to have, going back a few years, is that our bowlers would do a good job, and then they'd be out there bowling again after 60 overs. And I suspect that the same sort of thing is happening in the Sri Lankan side, that they're not having enough time to sit on the sidelines and watch other players in their team do their thing. So their bowlers are bowling on really short turnarounds, and the batsmen are still playing it at ODI pace.
You could make a case for saying that's the problem that England's got in Test cricket. You think of how they got on in the West Indies. They went out there, the bowlers are bowling, West Indies are batting well, Jason Holder smashing 200. England go out, they're playing a shot of ball. They're bowled out for 200, people scoring at 80 strike rates, and then the bowlers are back out there after 45 overs to go again. Yeah,
I suspect it's probably a different syndrome for the English guys. I think the fact that they've been so used to success, and let's be honest, there would be very few people outside of the Caribbean who would have thought the West Indies were in with even a bull's roar of a result like that. So your natural inclination is you switch off just a little bit mentally, and in England's case, that's what I think happened. They went out there not believing that they would lose, and they would just, play cricket and they'd win. Great to see the result, because I think world cricket's a hell of a lot better off when the West Indies are playing well. The more teams that are showing that they can win a game on any given day, the better it is for everyone, and that includes New Zealand. The West Indies coming down here will not be, it's the West Indies. It'll be great. I'm going to go and see the West Indies play, and you start getting 10,000 people at a day's Test cricket instead of 3. that puts more money in the coffers. And if we're not so reliant on the one-day T20 money, perhaps we can play a few more tests. You know?
Yeah, it'll be perfect. Now, talking of Test cricket and Bangladesh and West Indies and those sorts of teams, so just looking at the world rankings at the moment, and New Zealand for the first time ever, I think I'm right in saying that, number 2 in the world in Test cricket.
Oh, look, it's great, but I don't think that there would be a consensus across the cricketing world that those ICC rankings are necessarily as accurate as they could be. And I'm just taking a sneaky peek at your list there. You only need to see that New Zealand play 30 tests and everyone else plays 40-odd at least.
England 53 in whatever that period is for the ranking. I assume it's a 4-year period. Or
England always play more than anyone because they've got the historical 5-test series against teams, and they have a very good home summer. So they play someone like New Zealand, Sri Lanka early doors. You get 2 against them, and then you'll have 4 or 5 against whoever you've decided is going to be your main.
Australia, India,
So, but you can look at England as a bit of an outlier against in that number. But geez, look, Sri Lanka have got 51, and you don't necessarily think that they play a boatload of Test cricket. So there's.
The only ones that are less than New Zealand, when you point it out, is Bangladesh, who've got 25 games. West Indies have played more, Pakistan more. India way more. It's a huge disparity in the numbers, and hopefully that's what the Test Championship will really sort out.
I really do. It would be great to see us, but I can't expect us to play 5 Test series against people. That's commercial reality. But if we get to play India in India and then at home inside a 4-year period. We get to do the same with South Africa. We get to do the same with Australia. The same with Pakistan, West Indies. It will get people back to the game because the cricket will actually be meaningful.
Yes.
There won't be quite so much of the blatant, well, we're going to rest our good players against these boys, because there'll be something on every series. So the teams will have to play their best side according to fitness. Conditions will obviously juggle a bit of selection, but there'll be some real there'll be some meaning to all the games, which has got to be great for the game.
Yeah, and if you've got that, when you need to look more into it, but a 2 to 4 year period, everyone's playing 30, 35 games of cricket, 40 games of cricket, whatever it is, and you've still got the key marquee matches. So I'm sure the Ashes will still be 5 tests and things like that. But it's the fact that everyone's playing meaningful cricket, home and away. It's huge for the game, and if there's more Test matches down in New Zealand for us to go and watch. So
absolutely. I mean, I'm not sure my wife will agree with the my summer holiday selection that seems to coincide with Test match cricket, but. She's getting used to it by now.
She's a bit late if she's not. So the second test is going to kick off down in Wellington, Friday, New Zealand time, late Thursday night in the UK. Third and final test match down in Christchurch the following week. And then that is it from a New Zealand summer point of view, and it's roll on the World Cup.
Yep, absolutely. I think we've got some hit and giggle warm-up games somewhere in the world before then. But yeah, June the 5th or something, I think, is our first game. I know I arrive in the UK on June the 6th with a pocket full of tickets to head around and see us play. So looking forward to that.
Yep. 25th of May, India versus New Zealand warm-up match, and then West Indies in a warm-up match, and then you are kicking straight into it. New Zealand, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, India. South Africa, West Indies. So how many games are you going to, Will?
I've got tickets to 4 games. I'm particularly looking forward to versus India at Trent Bridge, because obviously that's where I used to live around there. So I've got friends. Trent Bridge is a great ground. You always get a million runs there because it's the flattest deck in that part of the world, with relatively short boundaries. I know I shouldn't say that coming from here, but it's. New Zealand, South Africa at Birmingham, which I think is going to be a very pivotal game as to the top 4. And then the West Indies. Now, where are we playing the West Indies? That might be the Oval. It could be. That's not important. I'll be there. I got tickets for that one as well.
You're turning up somewhere to watch a game of cricket.
And all I'm hoping for is that the sun shines and the cricket is good. I think New Zealand have got our regular chance of being a perennial semi-finalists.
Yeah.
But I do think that this year it's going to be tighter than people might think. I think there's six sides that, depending on who wins the toss, could be in the semi-finals.
You're exactly right. And England for a long time have been touted as, this is England's World Cup, time to shine. It's at home. They've got this speed, throttle, kind of foot to the ground type of cricket, and it's go forward. And then you see it, sometimes it's going to derail. And if it just derails at the wrong time, there's going to be problems for this England team based on the expectations. But you take the fact that India is such a good team and did so well over here. New Zealand can beat anyone on the day when they're rocking and rolling. So can South Africa. So can Pakistan. Australia, you can never discredit from any game at all. And West Indies have just shown with Chris Gayle at the peak of his powers coming to the end of his career. It really is wide open. And I think part of the beauty of that is the Australian team is not as strong as what it used to be and hasn't got that stranglehold.
Yeah. The one thing about Australia is that if you look back over the history of World Cups, doesn't matter how poo they've been in the 2 years right into the World Cup, suddenly they turn up. There'll be some new player that we haven't seen before, or their bowlers will all start firing up. They will be more dangerous than people will be thinking about as of now. Yeah. I think you're right. In England, they've got a great side, and it's at home, which is always a big advantage. You're in your own bed a couple of nights a week.
Yeah.
You've played at all the grounds. The players are really familiar with the conditions and all of that. India are going to be there or thereabouts on the back of the fact they've got 2 great batsmen and they've got 3 great bowlers, and that's actually all you need to win most games of cricket.
It is. Yep.
The South African pace attack at the moment is top draw.
Yeah.
Whether they can do the job with the bat day in, day out is up to other sides to exploit.
If they had de Villiers in there, it would have made a difference.
Amla's starting to fall away. Du Plessis is not. He's not de Villiers.
You can't say he's at the same level. He's a great test player. He averages 43, 44.
Yeah.
One-day cricket. He's a good player, but it's almost like he's never taken that step to go and be the man.
Well, he's always had de Villiers. Yeah. And that would be a heavy presence in a changing room, I imagine. Anyone who's watched cricket at all for any amount of years will know that you never put all your money against the opposition when Pakistan are playing you, because they might be rubbish, but they might be absolutely out of this world. And their bowling attack has got all the ammunition you need, especially for playing in England. They've got quicks, they've got exceptional spinners, and they've got a couple of blokes who don't seem to have been coached much, as is always the way with Pakistan.
It's one of the beauties of their game, right?
Yeah, you get some guy and he's either got a weird action or he's like 7'5" or 3'2". They've always got a real point of difference about a couple of their players, and that they have got a couple of batsmen who, on their day, can smash you all over the ground. And I still have nightmares about 91 over here with Inzamam, and there'll be another Inzamam type player roll up from some mountainous region who no one's ever seen before, except the Pakistanis, and will be just great.
Yep.
Australia, I've touched upon those.
What about Afghanistan? Do you think so? In the predictions for the year, I made a bold prediction going Afghanistan are going to make it to the World Cup semi-final. Do you?
I'll put money on that it doesn't happen if you want to go that way. They're certainly getting better. Because they're being exposed more. But in a tournament like this, where everyone plays each other, I just don't think that they're going to be able to be consistent enough week in, week out. Under some of the old formats where it was a couple of pools and it was a bit weird and you could get a couple of rained out days, they could probably have a chance. You might get to a knockout phase with 2 wins. But I would have thought that 2 wins if they took away 2 wins from a tournament, I think that would be a huge result for them. And in saying that, I think we play them at Cardiff, which, as we know, has been a bit of a graveyard for New Zealand sides in the past.
Yeah. So I feel if it was a T20 competition, I'd probably give Afghanistan a legitimate, honest, better chance, because 20 overs, anything can happen. Someone can get in, and Rashid Khan is just exceptional at that level. 50 overs. There's more of a game plan to 50 overs. There's more of a period. You may have an exceptional 10 overs, but you've got to make it last that period of time, whereas 10 overs in a T20 game completely can wipe a game out.
Absolutely. And in the longer form of the game, you can nullify one superstar by just going, oh, well, there's 4 other bowlers who we can take for 270. Yep. We'll just nudge this really good bloke around and if he goes none for 30, we're not bothered. Yep. T20, you can't really afford to only attack 4 bowlers. You've got to attack everyone all the time.
Yeah.
And again, reverse with the batting. In T20, one guy gets 70 off 35 balls, that's match winning. 70 off 35 balls in a 50-over game, it's a good contribution, but you need 2 other blokes to do the same. And that's where I don't think they've got it at the moment.
Yeah. The other team, Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka's had a real rough time the last few years.
Yeah.
But this is Test cricket I'm talking about. They've just gone to South Africa and absolutely upset the apple cart and rolled them over.
And you could have won enough money to buy 2 Auckland houses on that result.
Exactly. So the question is that Test match cricket form, because it's a lot of the same players, transferable into the World Cup, and all of a sudden they've gone from absolute no-hopers to this is Sri Lanka, a team who sometimes haven't had the best players but still made it to the T20 World Cup final and have won it. They've won the 96 World Cup with one-day international cricket. They're just a team that can, again, like West Indies, you just can't discredit them. They can just step up.
No, and they've got some genuine world-class players in there, and if 3 of them can get together on the same day, they'll be a genuine threat. But they're just on that ebb of their game where I can't necessarily see them beating 3 good sides in consecutive games, but they could certainly ruin the tournament for one of the so-called favourites. You know, imagine, for instance, you get England have 2 games rained out, and then they lose to Sri Lanka, and all of a sudden they've only qualified 3rd instead of 1st, and they end up playing India, and so there's that sort of thing could quite easily happen, and it wouldn't surprise me if Sri Lanka were in amongst it due to that sort of carry on.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be awesome that you're over there, and we'll be picking your brains to know what's going on, and Kiwi to the ground while it's over there. But for now, we've got 2 Test matches coming up: Wellington, Christchurch. My prediction, Will, I'm going to say this is going to finish 3-0. I think the red hot summer is just going to keep rolling on.
The only thing that stops it being 3-0 will be rain.
Yeah. And I don't think we're going to get any of that anytime soon.
Doesn't look like it.
It's scorching. Will, thank you so much for dropping by the podcast, my friend. Really good to have you on. Great to chat Test cricket.
Not a problem. Always happy to be here. And roll on June.
Yeah, roll on June, and we'll have you back on for a World Cup preview podcast in the next few weeks.
Sweet. Look forward to it.
Thank you so much, mate.
Cheers, Rob.